Yeah, obviously I was afraid, right? Like, what if nobody shows? Like, that could happen, right? But no, we've had a huge turnout of Blizzard fans coming to sort of watch the games and see what it's all about. So as always, we are deeply honored by the enthusiasm of our fans for our games.
So I want to talk a little about just sort of how the game is seen, because this is an interesting question for me. I feel like people lump Heroes in with Dota and LoL a lot. They refer to it as a MOBA, but I don't think it really is a MOBA, and I think the branding of calling it a hero brawler is probably okay. Just sort of how do you view how people perceive it in terms of lumping it in with those sorts of games? Well,
we don't really have control of how people perceive it or what they choose to call it. You call it a MOBA if you want, right? Like, we know we're setting out to make something that we want to make, that we want to play, and it has some similarities to other games and has some differences to other games, and we're okay with that. And so we've done everything we can in many ways to make something we're excited to play, but also to make something that's legitimately different, something that has an offering to players out there, so you have some choices, right? We don't need more exact copies. So we wanted to make something different, and that's what we're doing. And whatever you want to call it's up to you. It's all good for us.
So in terms of making something different, do you feel like you succeeded pretty well on that in making the objective-based gameplay?
It's something we're certainly excited about. I don't know yet how much we've succeeded. This is our first really big esport event, and so far the games have been great, but I don't know for sure, right? And we'll keep a constant monitor of it to make sure that the things that we value in the game, the objective-based gameplay, that the team leveling, that using the talents to sort of customize your character, all those things maintain a value, that they feel like they're useful, and that they promote sort of cool choices for players when they're in the game.
So I think one of the interesting things about Heroes is that the objective-based gameplay it focuses your team composition around certain things typically, whereas if you look at maybe another similar MOBA type game, there tends to be a pretty wide variety of strategies you can use for victory that are not necessarily objective-based. Do you think that it's sort of like a difficulty in design and creating multiple ways for people to win, especially because there was that tweet you made about how you were looking at Abathur and how people were sort of annoyed that you could split push with him?
That wasn't that you could split push with Abathur. That was you could ridiculous split push with Abathur, which is different. We're not really against split pushing in particular. We certainly have heroes that can split push in the game right now. We felt that one was a little exploitive, and I don't know what's going to happen with him in the next patch. Something we were talking about. I may have tweeted prematurely relative to what we're actually going to do, but we felt that one was a little bit more on the exploit side and a little less fun for the enemy team. At some point, things you can do cross the line to being just really boring for the other team to deal with. And it's not that we don't want you to have the power to split with push with Abathur. I think you can certainly do that even with a change to that particular ability to, deep tunnel the enemy base and wreck a keep in, 3 waves.
So there was also some talk about, again in a tweet I think I saw, but about how you were planning on releasing more heroes. Right now the schedule's about maybe once a month, but there was sort of some illusion to be more.
We've actually fallen behind once a month in the last few months. As we get closer to ship, we've fallen I think once every 5 or 6 weeks, which is not where we want to be. We want to be every 3 to 4 weeks, and that's what we're going to be shooting for the rest of the year.
So for specialists, I feel like pretty much all the specialists in the game right now are largely just pushers. Is that the role you see them being in, or is that something that just sort of happened, or is that something you plan on doing differently?
We had a bunch of pushers, and the specialists kind of fall into that category sometimes. Abathur's more of a support character, I think, than a pusher, though he has some pushing qualities as well. I think we may rename that category going forward. We're talking about renaming all the categories, actually, to have a wider variety of categories, because it seems to be sort of confusing people what these heroes are for. Zagara can be very bursty, depending on who she's fighting against. And we've seen that here in the tournament, and so she's technically a specialist, which implies she's only for pushing, but she has some real burst potential as well. So we're going to look at those classifications and kind of see where we're at with them.
So do you know what we can expect for the game when it becomes into release in 2 months, in terms of how many heroes there might be or how many battlegrounds you might end up with?
Well, it's going to be pretty similar to what you have today, right? We're wrapping up our bugs. We're doing some of our final tuning. We'll be adding, I think, another hero, another couple heroes going forward. I think it's 1 more hero. We won't add any more battlegrounds. We've got all our battlegrounds we're going to have for launch. But we're going to keep adding as we go going forward. I don't think you should see a drop in pace because we've launched. This is only the beginning. Okay. And so we want to keep the same number of maps, the same number of battlegrounds, UI changes, all of that stuff should keep pace as we go forward. Nobody's coming off heroes. We're not downsizing the team or moving everybody. In fact, we're adding more people, at this point going forward. So we're going to keep adding to the game, keep building this game, getting smarter and smarter about what we need to do to make the game cool for our players, as we advance.
So post-launch, we should basically expect, sort of what is now?
About the same, maybe a little faster. Like I said, I like to go faster on heroes. Okay. But we'll see what we can accomplish.
So another thing that I think has changed in game development in general for multiplayer games, maybe over the last 5 years, is that it's common now for games to have really significant patches where it completely changes the game. And Dota does it at least once a year, League does it about once a year, sometimes more. Is that kind of do you agree with that kind of design philosophy? Is that something you might be doing in the future, or would it be more sort of along the lines of StarCraft, where it's just sort of incremental, small?
Well, I mean, we have the tools to do both. We have the ability with our talent system, with our battlegrounds, to make pretty significant ways to how you play the game. At any given moment, we can go and tweak the talents on individual heroes. If we suddenly, want all of our specialists to feel more like assassins, we could go in and add or subtract a few talents, and that would be done, right? And we could totally control that experience. I feel like game developers should do the best they can to make the best game they know how to make. So if that means a big patch, then do the big patch, right? Like if you've got an idea like this is going to make this game a lot better, then you should do it, right? And people might be annoyed that you've changed too much, but if you're making the game better, you got to be brave and do it. If you feel like I don't need to do that to make the game better, I can make the game better with small iterative changes, then do that. But you owe it to your players to do everything you can to make the best possible experience. So I don't really have an opinion about the strategy of that. I'd just be much more excited for developers to have the courage to do whatever they think they need to do to make the best possible game.
So can you talk a little bit about the principles that you might use in creating a map? Like, how do you balance how fun it is versus how many things there are to do? Or are there any particular challenges in that?
Well, there's challenges across the board with any battleground design. It depends on the mechanic for the battleground, and every one of these battlegrounds has been through 4 or 5 iterations minimum to the core mechanic as to how it functions. The layout's been redone 6 or 7 times, and there's tons of playtesting that goes into that process. We are looking for battleground designs that are easy to understand, because we're going to have a lot of these in the game, and we don't want players coming in and looking at 7, 8, 10 battlegrounds and going, I don't know what's going on, right? At the same time, we need to have a lot of depth of choices in these battlegrounds, and we're always looking at battlegrounds we've done. I think some battlegrounds might be better, some battlegrounds might be worse. I think some I don't know about yet, which ones are better and which ones are worse, and we're going to keep sort of watching those as the community plays them. We're still in beta. We've been in an alpha for a long time, but I feel like people have only gotten serious about it in the last 4 or 5 months, right? And so we're starting to learn a lot more, and as we learn more, I think that'll inform our battlegrounds going forward as well.
So what kind of role do you see the community playing in games like this? Like, what sorts of feedback do you guys actually listen to when you go through and just sort of read how people are reacting to how the game is?
Well, we listen to everything. I mean, literally, I'll go through everything our community sends us. I'll go through your guys' site, other sites. We have community members from around the world who send us a weekly report, especially if it's in a language we don't know how to read, to tell us what's going on. But we listen to all of it, right? As much as we can, certainly, and we listen, looking for big themes, of course. But you never know. Like, there'll be times where some guy alone, by himself, with nobody supporting him, will say something that is very, very true. And you want to hear that, right? And sometimes there'll be 100 people asking for the wrong thing, right? And so
it's very common for us too.
Yeah, so you gotta just be okay with that, and you're looking for truth, right? And so you're looking for something that you think, oh my God, that's true. And of course, we're all playing with you as well. Like, I'm playing every night. Chris Siggety, our producer, is playing every night. Kay, our producer, everybody on the team is playing a ton. So if you've seen it, we've probably seen it too. There's occasions where that won't be the case, right? Where you've seen something that's really, oh my God, that sounds terrible. I've never seen that. But it's very rare. For the most part, if you're seeing something else, so somebody's saying, hey, I don't know, man, I was playing Quick Match last night and we got, no supports, no warriors. We were, 4 DPS and murky, and we ran against a classic comp of Diablo, Tyrande, Uther, and I don't know, man, we got rolled. I'm like, yeah. Funny, it happened to me on Tuesday, right? So, if you're experiencing it, we're experiencing it, right? And then chances are, we're scrambling as fast as we know how to deal with the problem, or it's in the schedule, or it's being dealt with going forward. I think our biggest challenge is communicating back that we've heard you, to let people understand, no, yeah, I get it, right? Like, I've totally heard your feedback on that, you are right. Or, I've heard your feedback, but I don't know what to do, is also a legitimate response. And it's very difficult for us to find ways to always do that, but I think that's very valuable whenever we can get it done.
Are there any hero compositions or interactions that the community has started using that you guys didn't really foresee, or has it mostly been expected?
That assumes that we expect anything, which we have been surprised so many times in the past that we generally don't decide to figure it out. We're just like, we'll see what happens with this one. It seems like a good hero. It seems reasonable, right? And we watch for the obvious interactions, and if there's anything really broken, we'll get rid of it before you guys even see it. But basically, everything you do is it's kind of interesting, right? Like, it's all kind of like, wow, did we talk about that? I think we talked about that once. We didn't talk about it for 20 minutes even. It was like, hey, I'll bet we could use Zeratul and Diablo to do some crazy shit. That would be cool, right? And then suddenly you see it, in a lot of games, like, there it is, that's cool. But sometimes it's also just completely out of left field. And we don't really have a lot of ego or expectations, like, I know what's going to happen before it happens. It's too complicated. There's too much going on. And we sort of have a lot of faith and trust in the community that they will show us those things. And if we see that it's a big problem, we can go, oh. Like, we saw this a lot with Abathur early on, right? Where we said, we'll do Abathur and he can copy somebody. Yeah. And everybody said, and with the ultimate? We're like, Yeah, and with the ultimate. That's probably okay, right? And we went out there like, it's not so good.
Dude, double ultimate's sick.
Yeah, and basically it just puts so much stress on the heroic abilities, right? If the heroic ability got a little too interesting, there were two of them all of a sudden, and it would break the heroic. And then we were starting to talk about nerfing the heroic. Like, we got to nerf that because of Abathur. Well, yeah. Oh, right. Like, and then it's like, okay, maybe Abathur can't do that anymore, and he can still be, a valuable member of the team. So we're always getting, surprised. We're always getting to see things new with you guys. It is, and sometimes we know a few things, and if it's really bad, we've already taken care of it. If it's out there, we thought it was borderline, or we didn't see it at all, right? And so, it's always kind of exciting.
So my favorite aspect that the game used to have was the chat wheel, where you could use automated responses, and then also you could say a good game to the enemy team. Why did that get taken out? And can we expect it back?
It looked terrible. Yeah. It was so buggy, and it looked nasty. It was like placeholder programmer art. And we went to.
It did look bad.
And I was like, guys, can we? I went to the UI team. I was like, can we do this? I'm like, yeah. After you want the rest of the game first? I'm like, yeah, I kind of do. And I'm like, okay, we'll take it out. We'll put it back at some point, right? I think there's value to it. I think there's stuff that we can do. The GG was definitely my favorite part, right? There was some troll aspects to it that I disliked.
That's the only reason I like it.
Okay, now I don't like it anymore.
I'm the jerk that uses it all the time.
No, but there is a value to it, and I think there's ways we can make it work for players. I think it could be cool, but it didn't look good, and we kind of want things to be polished. Every now and that was one, honestly, that there was a guy working with named Justin Browder, who was sort of the original tech designer on the whole game. He architected everything inside our editor. And he and I kind of ninjaed that one in. Like, you want to do this? Yeah, I want to do it. Like, okay, let's do it, right? And we snuck it in. And then it was like months later, we went to UI. Hey, we ninjaed this thing in that wasn't on your schedule for like forever. And now we get it fixed? You're like, no, we're on fire. What are you talking about, man? I'm like, oh wow, right? So, it came out, but I expect us to deal with it down the road. I do think it was cool.
What, personally, what is your favorite aspect of the game? What makes it really interesting to you when you play?
As somebody who works on a team of 100 plus people, right, and somebody who's asked to try to lead a team of 100 plus people, I'm very fascinated by teamwork. And one of the things I love about the game is the requirements to function as a team. It is the ultimate expression in video games that I've worked on about teamwork first. We've done a lot of, I read a lot of management books as part of my job. And one of the books I read was Wooden on Leadership, who's a famous basketball coach. And he wrote this book about teamwork and how he's looking for talented players, but he needs guys who can work on a team. And so I love how this game brings teams together in a fun way. I've played more Heroes with my friends than almost any other game because we get to function as a team. And I have real teamwork moments where my team will start getting mad and frustrated. I'll say, easy, guys. Look, we're only level down. They're only up 1 fort. We can still do this. And everybody goes, oh, yeah. We can do this. I had a great game with a pug about 3 months ago where we got in against the enemy team and our comp was bad. It was the matchmaker fail. It just gave us this terrible comp. And the team just started raging, like just quit. Like AFK core. And I'm almost ready to go with the guy. I'm like, I understand. And I typed into chat, no, let's drag it out. Like, we're gonna lose, but let's lose like men, right? Let's do this thing. And everybody in the team, a couple guys said, yeah. And you see the whole team like, yeah. Let's drag it out. The hell with these guys. Let's do it, right? And we drag it out. It was a great game. We totally lost. But we were all high-fiving at the end. Like, we're like, dude, you were amazing. No, you were amazing. And it was this great moment where these total strangers came together, and we didn't lose by much. We were even levels when they dropped our core, right? And we didn't lose by much, but that feeling of teamwork, that feeling of camaraderie, that feeling of we win this together or we lose as individuals was so powerful, and it really sort of spoke to sort of a core human need to be part of the tribe. And anyway, I'm getting very hippie on you here, but I thought it was very cool, and it was one of the things that excites me most about the game is this value of teamwork.
So I think that's actually sort of telling about how Heroes is, because I think relative to most other team games, it's much more important that you work as a team. It's like I do a lot of solo queue, and it's sort of frustrating for me because it's really hard if you're not working together with people.
I'll tell you about solo queue. One of the things that I've learned in this game is if your team goes off to do something dumb, you better go with them.
Yeah, I noticed that's a popular sentiment now too.
Just
a lot of people
and maybe it'll work out, right? Don't be like, well, I'm not doing that because you guys are wrong. If they're going, you know what? Then go with them. And chances are at most skill levels, that'll work. Somehow it'll come together. Your ability to gel socially is so critical to your success.
So I have one last question on sort of a personal note. Like, if you were to go back in time and talk to yourself at maybe 15, what do you think you'd think of your life now?
Oh, this is incredible. I don't even know what to make of this. This doesn't feel real to me, right? Even 5 years ago when we started in this game, there was this little mod that we were making in the StarCraft 2 editor just to show the players what you could do in StarCraft, because at the time we didn't know if anybody was going to show up to make mods. Like, we didn't know. We shipped this amazing tool, and Warcraft 3 had been so vibrant and so amazing. What if they don't show up in StarCraft 2 to make cool stuff? And so we made this mod, and it was just for fun, and we weren't really serious about it. Even to go back that far seems incredible to me. But I don't know, I guess if you go back, I would just say, dude, don't worry. It's going to be okay. It's going to be fun. Relax and enjoy the ride, because it's been an absolutely amazing ride up to this point.
All right, well, it sounds like the game out there is probably ending, or at least interesting. I hear a lot of shouting.
A lot of
so
screaming.
I think we're going to let you go there.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
See you next time.
Yep.